My name's Mara Boyce, and most of you know me because I teach and coach part-time here at the Academy of the New Church, and there's a lot of folks from the area. I am a wife and mother of 3 children, and I and my daughter both trained with Keen using Lee's technology, and we had really, for me, astounding results. And I spoke with my brother, who's a professional public speaker, and he said, don't exaggerate. And I really was struggling. Well, how do I say something that I felt was so profound without exaggerating? And I thought, well, I'm just going to be honest. To give you a quick background, back in 2005, I had a viral infection in my ear. And that prompted a large shutdown in the brain. I went completely deaf in my left ear, and the vestibular system in my left ear also shut down, which, long story short, what happens is the brain then has to compensate for that lack of input of balance. And you have 3 systems for balance, being your vision and your muscular skeletal system, as well as your vestibular system. So with that gone, my brain now had to rely on the other 2. And so to compensate, the parietal lobe got involved. And while it was helping me balance, it couldn't do what it was supposed to do with brain functioning, as far as cognitive functioning went, and information processing and speech. So that when I went deaf, I also lost a profound amount of cognitive ability. I couldn't balance a checkbook. I couldn't put more than the simplest sentences together. And I had what doctors call brain fog, which is a very accurate term. You feel like you're in a fog. You feel disconnected with yourself. And you feel loopy most of the time. Now, the brain, being miraculous, was able to compensate as the months and years went by, and I got significantly better. But I never fully recovered. I never got back to my old self prior to getting sick. And I finally decided, having been friends with Keen for a long time, to try the brain training. And I went down not quite knowing what to expect, having heard from Keen that it was a pleasant experience, and I just thought, what do I have to lose? A great deal of my work is public speaking through my teaching, and I was being negatively impacted to the point where I didn't want to talk in public anymore. And I started limiting what I was doing, and I thought, this has to end. This is my passion. So I went to Keen with high hopes, and after the first session, I called Keen up. I said, Keen, I don't know what happened, but the colors are popping off of the flowers, and I can see 3D again. And I hadn't even realized it, but my vision had been negatively impacted by the viral infection. So that was my first indication that something big was happening. After the 3rd session, my brain fog and my word recall ability were vastly improved. My brain fog felt like it had completely disappeared. My word recall was normal again. I could speak without huge effort. And I could recall words that previously, I'm sure some of you can relate to this, but it was so bad that I would sit there and just pause, and that was gone. After about the 10th session, which was my final session, probably the words to describe how I felt was a tremendous sense of calm and peace and mental clarity. So that was my experience. I also have the benefit of having a daughter who's 8 years old, and she also brain trained with Keen. She suffered from bacterial meningitis as an infant, and the doctors said, watch out for learning disabilities. So we kind of kept an eye out on her, but nothing showed up. And then right around 1st grade, we started noticing that she was behind her peers. We had some tests run. There were no learning disabilities, so to speak, but she always was about 3 to 6 months behind where everybody else was, and she struggled desperately to keep up. By the end of 2nd grade, that lack of ability to keep up with her peers had escalated into a tremendous amount of anxiety for her. She basically, I would say was depressed. And I don't use that word lightly, but if I describe how she was back then, her anxiety was so great, she would go to school in the morning in tears, begging to stay home. She would come home in the afternoon in tears over homework and over not being as smart as the other students. She had black circles under her eyes. She had irritable bowel syndrome that the doctors said were stress-induced. We knew it was really bad when she stopped wanting to play with any of her friends, and she wanted to just stay at home with me. And I remember looking at my husband, Ivan, and just saying, we're losing our little girl. And at that time, we called Keen again and took her down there. She did 10 sessions, and the change... The interesting thing is that I went down expecting to improve her academic performance, and that would take care of the anxiety. And interestingly enough, I think the exact opposite happened. She actually, what the brain training did, from what we could see, was that it removed the anxiety and it removed the depression, so that literally, I was speaking with Ivan tonight, honey, what would you say? He said, I just remember at the end of her training, I remember her walking off to school, and I said, honey, have fun at school today. And she said, okay, Dad. And she trotted off to school. Just profound emotional difference in her. She still struggled in some areas. The stresses were still there, and they still nagged at her a little bit, but I would say she was 80 to 90% better. We're homeschooling this year, and as a testament to brain state technologies, one of the reasons why we're homeschooling this year is so we can take that stress away, and we're going to take her back for some more sessions with Keen. And I think we're really excited to see what opens up for her world as well. And if my husband's really good, he's going to get brain state technology for Christmas.